Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Vayishem, Rakah Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Vayishem, Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Raya with another video, and I'll be reading from an article on independent.co.uk titled Coronavirus Will Bankrupt More People Than It Kills, and That's the Real Global Emergency. We may look back on coronavirus as the moment when the threads that hold the global economy together came unstuck. And with the way things are looking, this coronavirus could very well be that black swan event that takes the entire system down. Just over the last 24 hours in the U.S., you've had a lot of breaking news come out on travel and trade bans and different organizations canceling major events that make a lot of money. I've got a list right here of some of the stuff that's been announced in the news, and this one at the top is big. The NBA suspends the entire season. The NCAA has canceled March Madness. South by Southwest, which is an entertainment festival, has been canceled. Coachella, which is a music festival, has been postponed. E3, which is the biggest gaming conference out there, has been canceled. And President Trump has initiated a 30-day travel and trade and cargo ban on Europe. New Rochelle in New York is under quarantine lockdown, which is pretty much medical martial law for about 2 weeks. The MLB, or Major League Baseball, has suspended spring training and the first 2 weeks of the regular season. Tom Hanks and his wife have the coronavirus, and the NHL, or the National Hockey League, cancels its league meeting. And it's not just the fans and the players that are going to be affected. A lot of people rely on these different events for their livelihood. You got to think about those that are in advertising and merchandising, these different people that work at these stadiums and locations where these events take place, maintaining it and building up and breaking down the equipment, and these cities that rely on all the money that these events bring to them. A lot of pockets are about to get real light, and people are going to start losing their jobs. But whether it be the coronavirus or some other event, a global economic collapse will happen. Thus saith the scriptures. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12. I'm going to read verse 3 through 4. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. And this is talking about these different economists and stock market brokers. And you can definitely see that they're trembling right now. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 haven't lost as many points as they're losing now since the Great Recession back in 2008. And a lot of their forecasts are starting to come out real negative, talking about a coming new recession. And the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders or workers cease because they are few. The grinders cease because there's an economic collapse that caused these businesses to go under, so they don't have a job to go back to. Or the grinders cease because they got infected by the coronavirus and are under quarantine lockdown, so they can't go to work, or they just die outright. And even before the coronavirus pandemic, the U.S. economy wasn't doing good. You had a lot of people out here working 2 to 3 minimum wage jobs just to keep their head above the water. And those that look out of the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding or working is low. Again, an economic collapse causes these businesses to go under, or there's a quarantine medical martial law lockdown, so these people can't go to work and these businesses can't open up. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. And we're seeing an example of the daughters of music being brought low. That music festival Coachella has been postponed, and South by Southwest, which has a musical aspect to it, has been canceled outright. And again, even before this coronavirus spread, the global economy, especially the U.S. economy, was always going to collapse. You have to remember that the elites that run this planet right now, such as the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, want to bring in that New World Order, a digital, cashless society predicated upon the mark of the beast, which is the RFID/NFC microchip implant. And as the old saying goes, never let a good crisis go to waste. This coronavirus would be the perfect cover for this inevitable economic collapse. They could blame it on the coronavirus. Coronavirus's economic danger is exponentially greater than its health risks to the public. If the virus does directly affect your life, it is most likely to be through stopping you going to work, the grinders ceasing, forcing your employer to make you redundant, or bankrupting your business, the doors being shut in the street because the grinding is low. The trillions of dollars wiped from financial markets this week will be just the beginning if our governments do not step in. And if President Trump continues to stumble in his handling of the situation, it may well affect his chances of re-election. Joe Biden, in particular, has identified COVID-19 as a weakness for Trump, promising steady, reassuring leadership during America's hour of need. And FYI, voting doesn't matter. These different presidents are just puppets of their elite masters. Worldwide, COVID-19 has killed 4,389 people with 31 deaths in the U.S. as of today. But it will economically cripple millions, especially since the epidemic has formed a perfect storm with stock market crashes, an oil war between Russia and Saudi Arabia, and the spilling over of an actual war in Syria into another potential migrant crisis. We may look back on coronavirus as the moment when the threads that hold the global economy together came unstuck, and startups and growing businesses like mine could end up paying the price. Just as important as fighting the virus, if not more important, is vaccinating our economies against the incoming pandemic of panic. Human suffering can come in the form of illness and death, but it can also be experienced as not being able to pay the bills or losing your home. And things aren't really bad right now, and people are already on edge. I was at the grocery store the other night, and the lines were packed to the brim, going into other lines with people with their baskets filled with toilet paper, paper towels, and other goods. And what was very telling of how these people are going to get really animalistic is one cashier said aisle 1 was open and people made a mad dash for that aisle. And how it was looking, if somebody would have cut another person off, they would have started throwing fists. And also the cashier at the aisle, before she took a $20 bill, doused her hands in hand sanitizer. So how much worse is it going to be when this coronavirus spreads more and more, and then you have only a few goods left at these grocery stores and people fighting for whatever they can get their hands on? Small businesses in particular are struggling as supply chains dry up, leaving them without products or essential materials. Factory closures in China have led to a record low in the country's Purchasing Managers Index, which measures manufacturing output. China is the world's largest exporter and is responsible for a third of global manufacturing. So China's problem is everyone's problem, even in the midst of a trade war between the White House and Beijing. All this makes it even more worrying that governments continue to see this as a health crisis and not an economic one. It is time the economists took over from the doctors before the real pandemic spreads. It is difficult to imagine Italy not entering a recession. The world's 9th largest economy is now under lockdown. It is also difficult to imagine that failing to affect Europe and its largest trading partner, the United States. And it is impossible to see how any of this will not add up to a global downturn unless governments step in faster and harder than they did 12 years ago during the last financial crisis. The stakes are higher this time because there seems to be a coordinated effort to economically hurt many Western countries and warn them away from the aggressive trade policies that Trump has so enthusiastically adopted, all by design. Although China bore the brunt of the virus's economic and human cost, many in Beijing will see a silver lining in the weakening of the U.S. economy and a distraction from Trump's trade wars that appeared to be escalating with no end in sight. Almost perfectly synchronized with the coronavirus, a Russia-Saudi oil war has erupted. In the short term, both Moscow and Riyadh can afford the 30% overnight drop in the oil price. but America's shale gas businesses cannot. The more expensive process of fracking means that much of the U.S. oil sector will simply not exist if oil prices stay at historic lows, leading to shutdowns, job losses, and perhaps even state-level recessions. Back in Ecclesiastes 12, and the grinders cease because they are few, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding or working is low. President Trump has pushed through overdue payroll tax cuts and help for hourly workers, measures that will help both employers and employees survive. In the UK, Chancellor Rishi Sunak today unveiled a coronavirus budget, but everyone needs to think bigger if they want to properly deal with how this new factor changes the status quo. But in the end, this is all going to be futile because an economic collapse is inevitable, whether by the coronavirus or some other factor. These are some very beautiful times we're living in, Akim. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens over these next couple of days, weeks, and months. Now I'm going to go to Isaiah 24 and read verse 7 through 12. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh, because of all these negative economic forecasts out here and the spread of this coronavirus. The mirth of the tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth, the NBA suspending the entire season, March Madness being canceled, South by Southwest being canceled, Coachella being postponed, and E3 being canceled. Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is taking away the bread and circus from you people, the only thing that kept you going through your miserable lives. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. People are going to be getting drunk to drown away their sorrows among getting high on these drugs out here because they see no end to the misery to come. The city of confusion is broken down. And what does the word Babylon mean? Confusion. And we know that Babylon the Great is the United States of America. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. The houses, the doors to the houses in the street have been shut because the grinding is low. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. And that crying for wine is going to be these people looking for answers to all the calamities that are about to befall this planet. But the only people that are going to have the answers are the elect, the 144,000, and the rest of the righteous 1/3 of the nation of Israel, who are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners who look like these heathens. But we're also coming into the famine of the word to where these videos are no longer going to be on the internet, and the men of the Lord are no longer going to be on the highways and byways. So to you sincere Akim out here, drink from these rivers of living waters while you still can, because they won't be around for too much longer. And you don't want to be caught out here like these heathens and 2/3 Israelites running around like chickens with their heads cut off, looking for the truth, but not finding it and having to take whatever judgment comes their way. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. The city is left desolate from deaths by the coronavirus, or deaths from these civil wars and race wars and other pestilences and famines, and also ultimately the city being left in desolation and the gates smitten with destruction by those nuclear-tipped ICBMs, 200 million of which are going to hit the United States of America, turning it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate wasteland afterwards. And I'm going to close it out with this video from the Elder Brother Kazakhs in Mississippi's page, Yahushai is Coming Back, titled, Certain Cities in America to be Under Full Quarantine, ?
Hey, you guys, just wanted to give you a crucial update. So my cousin that works for the Pentagon, my aunt that lives in D.C., and my friend that works for the government in Knoxville, between last night and today, I've had 3 people notify me that has not been announced yet, but the U.S. is about to go on a 4-week quarantine, which means you cannot leave your home. You can't go to anywhere that you can do sales transactions like grocery stores, shopping, movies, anything like that. So in about 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks, they're going to announce the shutdown. Once the shutdown is in place, or the warning, everything from the grocery store is going to be cleared out. At this time, it's critical that you stock up on canned goods, frozen food, things that you'll be able to survive off of 2 weeks from, or 4 weeks for. Toilet tissue, paper towels. It's bigger than just Clorox and bleach.
So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim are edified. And as always, I'm going to say Ababa Ball, Kwam Yasharala. Till next time, Shalom.